it's Danny the Dracolich. I'm immortal in undeath. Hi, I'm James.
And I'm Emmy.
And welcome back to the Bestiary, Monster Manual A through Z. And this week, Emmy, our guest is...
the ever-terrifying Dracolich.
Yeah, what do you get when you take a dragon who's especially narcissistic and not keen on the idea of death, possibly a cult, and possibly, the dragon's innate sorceress abilities, and mix all that together?
You get an undead, terrifying monstrosity that is coming for you real fast and real terrifyingly. So yeah, this guy's a lich. It's a dragon that was just like, death? Nah, not today. And decided to become a giant, undead, monstrous, evil, big bad guy nightmare. And these guys are incredibly varied. They actually don't even have a true stat block here in the Monster Manual. They are a template designed for the DM to lay on top of another pre-existing dragon stat block.
Yeah, we've talked about other monsters that we've covered as being like, oh, this is probably a template, you can play around with this kind of thing. This is the first part where it's explicitly stated. This is a template. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we should probably clarify for anybody who's not 100% up on this, what is lichdom? What does that mean when we say that?
Absolutely. And of course, we'll cover this a little bit more in depth when we get to Lich. But for a quick crash course, a lich is a high-level spellcaster, or somebody who knows a high-level spellcaster who can do this to them. And they desiccate their body and put their soul into a handy little device called a phylactery, which they usually hide away because that is their true body in a sense. If you destroy that, you truly destroy them. And they are immortal from that point on, and they continue to gather knowledge, which is usually the goal of a lich, or in this case of a Dracolich, to gain power. But in order to maintain this status, they have to feed souls to this phylactery, otherwise we slip into demi-lichdom, which we have indeed already covered.
Yeah. Essentially, somebody who, for whatever reason, decides, that whole death thing, not so keen on that, but still kind of want to retain like all my faculties and things, so don't want to go like zombie undeath route. So take body, boop, remove soul, put in other thing, now you can't die. This being an example of where a dragon, already a powerful being in and of itself, and only the most ancient dragons are capable of doing this. Any young dragon that attempts to do this will be destroyed by the process. Decides, I will eventually die. Don't really want to do that. And so, as the soul is removed, the body then just starts to decay, rot away, and you are left with some pretty metal artwork. Look at this dude.
The template in the book, the example given is a blue Dracolich, and you can see what's left here of this blue skin just kind of dripping off of the wings and sticking to the arms a little bit. When a lich dies, their body immediately decays, and you can see that in here, that he's mostly bones, even more than I would argue than a regular lich. He's just practically a skeleton at this point.
Just remove that image from the Monster Manual, put it on your new death metal album cover, and you're good.
Instant sales.
The way in which, as you say, the scales are sloughing off of this skeletal frame, the way the wings are tattered, it looks like it shouldn't be able to hold itself up, but just the terrifying maw, now that all the skin and the flesh and the fats have been removed. It's nasty, and I love it.
Part of what I really like about this guy is looking at the way this guy is posed and postured. He actually doesn't look like he's attacking in this moment. He actually, to me at least, looks like he's talking to you, which is an important part of a lich, that they are conversationalists in many ways. They are BBEG material to its core.
Oh, absolutely.
So at some point you're probably likely to talk to this guy. He might monologue at you for a little bit. He might tell you a little bit about his evil plans. He might not necessarily need to kill you the first time you meet him. They're very charismatic by nature as a dragon. They tend to be charismatic. If they are spellcasters, they do tend to be charisma-based spellcasters, generally speaking. So they have a lot going on. I know it's part of D&D lore is that for the most part, dragons they talk as much as they attack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely, as you say, BBEG material, because when a being decides to go down the path of lichdom, they're probably not doing it for good reasons.
No.
So, yeah, Dracolich definitely, just in terms of lore motivations, in terms of just having a real cool bad guy, definitely up there in my list of what I would put at the top of your structure of evilldom.
Oh, yeah. This guy has a lot of fun options for that, too.
Yeah. And in terms of options, as we say, this is a template. The example given is the blue dragon, but essentially you take any adult or older dragon of any kind and, well, not necessarily any kind. They have to be a true dragon. Wyverns, pseudo-dragons don't count.
No shadow dragons either. Have to have physical form.
Exactly, which we will come to shortly. But yeah, essentially you remove any kind of things that you would get from their biology. So, for example, the need to eat, drink, sleep. If they are amphibious in some way, you get rid of that. But then if they don't need to breathe, that doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And then you add on the stuff that you get from undeath, immunity to poison. You add on things like it doesn't suffer from exhaustion. You add resistances, resistance to necrotic damage, that kind of thing.
Logical.
Yeah, so this is a great tool for a DM in terms of creating not just a monster, but a character. What or who was this Dracolich in life?
Yes.
What was their history? What were their motivations? How did they come to be what they are now?
I would say that with any lich, but differently, of course, with a Dracolich than a regular lich, the motivation is terribly important. And because this is a BBEG, you really do have to question what their motives are. What do they want? Why did they choose this path? Why are they involved with things as they are now? With a lot of humanoid liches, you're going to get the quest for knowledge, the need to continue to gather the knowledge that they had gathered in life. With dragons, especially since you're looking at primarily evil dragons who take this path, primarily because of the consumption of souls. In order to remain a lich, you do have to continue to consume things, which is not a nice thing to want to do. It's not generally considered polite in most societies. It's the gaining of power. So for most evil dragons, most chromatic dragons, it's about gathering power and status and things, and the need to continue to do that past death. I know another thing that I think is really fun about these guys is that you have a couple of options. They don't necessarily list this in the book, but I know we've considered that much in the way that a humanoid lich could, and typically becomes a lich, is that they cast this upon themselves. Dragons can be spellcasters, so a dragon could have done this to himself. But if they don't have a spellcasting ability, if they were not spellcasters in life, they probably have a cult. And the cult turned them into a Dracolich. And so not only are you going to be dealing with the lich, you're probably dealing with its cult.
Yeah. You're never just going to randomly, well, you might randomly, but you're never going to incidentally encounter a Dracolich. They're going to be something at the top of a power structure, behind a lot of events that maybe have occurred. Dragon cults, everybody's favorite secretive organization. They worship living dragons. They're probably going to be into undead ones too.
Probably. I imagine this is just a little more fun. And then the other thing I know is just super fun about this is the phylactery has a fun property about it, which is that if it's near the corpse of another dragon and the original dragon corpse is destroyed, the phylactery can just take over the host of the nearby dragon, which has a lot of options.
And raises some interesting questions as well, because if, as, say, the example is given in the manual, it was a blue dragon in life and then takes over the body of, say, a red dragon, does it then keep its lightning breath but gain just a new body, or does it now have fire breath instead? Like, what is tied to the essence of the soul and what is tied to the biology of the creature? Like, and that's probably for the DM to decide, but like, just a lot of cool considerations, I think.
Yeah, it's not written down in the book. Again, this is another one of those things where the DM is absolutely supposed to decide this for themselves. Does it add on top? I don't know. If it takes over the body of an older dragon, does that update its stats? Because Dracolich has to be adult or higher. What if it was an adult and takes on the body of an ancient dragon? Does that change? I don't know.
Does it get stronger?
Maybe. Maybe it gets, I don't know, maybe it continues to consume strength and gets stronger than an ancient dragon. I don't know. You have so many ridiculous options for this guy. And they
with
do get
those
harder.
options, and with those options, you can just make it a lot tougher, a lot harder, as you say. We were actually a little bit perplexed at first, because just looking at the stat block, it's like, only a challenge rating 17? Really?
Yeah.
But then, of course, you can give it things like a lair and lair actions and spellcasting, or hey, maybe the answer to the question, does it gain fire breath but lose lightning breath, is porque no los dos? Maybe the Dracolich's motivations is to eventually inhabit the body of every kind of dragon. And
we're just going to get baby skeletal Tiamat, and it'll just be adorable, except for not, because that would never be adorable in any way, shape, or form. But also, it would be so cool. You have so many fun options with that on how it gets built. I mean, yeah, like you were saying, it just starts at 17. That's at one. The template here is for, again, the adult blue dragon, which is a 16. So it just gets a little bit harder than its original stat block, but that's just a base. It's so...
I might have a new campaign idea.
Oh no! No! I don't want to fight baby skeletal Tiamat! What have I done? Internet, what have I done?
But I definitely need a better name than Cult of the Rainbow Dragon.
So you say that, but I am 3,000% there for that name. I am so ready to fight the Cult of the Rainbow Dragon. Thank you for joining us this week on The Bestiary. Do you think that a Dracolich Demi-Lich would be as hilarious but also terrifying as we do? Please tell us about it down in the comments below. And while you're there, you can get all of our links to our social media. You can check out our Patreon if you want to support us just a little bit more. And then you can subscribe as well. And here are some more videos for you to watch.